Hi everyone, I hope you are all doing well. This is going to be the last video that I make of the semester. In this video, I'm going to be doing a quick walkthrough of the final exam study guide and then just a few announcements regarding your last assignments that you have. So let's start out with the assignments first. So in looking at our Canvas page, you can see that you only have a few things left to do. Woohoo, you're almost done. So the things that you need to make sure that you complete by this weekend, December 10th, are as followed. You have the discussion post 8 play settings. So make sure that you make your own post and then you comment on two peers' posts as well as include any referencing from our text. And then you have your plan development project. And keep in mind, this is a big project and it has two parts to it. So make sure that you look over all of the guidelines and have everything structured in detail. A few tips in case you haven't submitted yet, or if you have submitted and you want to readjust. The two pieces are meant to be on the same topic. However, the paper is for me to read. Imagine that your creative piece, so whether you're doing a poster, a PowerPoint, a video, a cartoon scene, whatever you're doing for the creative piece, it needs to describe the relationship between play and learning to a reader who has no idea what we're talking about. So make sure there's lots of detail. It's clearly explained, well organized. It's understandable to anybody who would read it. So a parent, a teacher, somebody who works as a play therapist, whoever your audience is for that, it needs to be showcased in that way. And of course, always include references no matter what you're doing, and include at least two outside sources beyond our text and reading materials and lectures from our class. So there's already links for EBSCOhost if you're still looking for research articles. They're out there, and those are all credible sources for you. And the project, make sure that it's 4 to 5 pages, it's proofread, so the guidelines are all there, and everything needs to be explained in detail, well organized. There should be a sequential flow to your paper, so I should be able to tell from beginning to end what you're trying to capture in your paper. Are you talking about language development? Are you going to talk about different types of play? Are you going to talk about the role of the teacher? Are you going to talk about the importance of spending time outdoors? I don't care what you talk about as long as it relates to play and development and you're clearly able to describe that to me. And then some optional assignments for extra credit that are also due December 10th are the therapy, hospital, school, and school psychologist quiz. So make sure that you watch all of the guest lecture videos and then take a quiz that corresponds to each one of those. And then the office hours survey. So if you attended office hours with me over Zoom or in person, you already completed part of it, and then you'll just need to complete the office hours survey. And then finally, I apologize, my dog. Finally, there is an article summary, so make sure, of course, that one also has the reference included and you are pertaining to something that we've discussed in class. So a topic that you found interesting, it needs to be your focus in that article summary. And now getting into the final exam study guide. So the exam study guide has already been up for you, and I hope that you've taken time to look at it prior to watching this video. If you have not, please go look at the study guide and do some of your own research first. That way you already have an idea of what I am looking for, and this is just a refresher for you. The exam is going to be open December 10th for you and will be available to you until December 16th, and I have also decided to extend the longevity of the test taking period once you start the test. So you'll get an hour and 30 minutes to complete the exam. Keep in mind, it is the same amount of questions and expectations, so you're not having to do any more work, but I'm going to allow you a little bit extra time. And then, of course, for anybody who is registered with SSD, that will just add on to the additional time that you already have with that. And so in looking at our study guide, where did it go? I had my notes on here just so that I know where I'm touching on. So all of the points that you really need to know are laid out on there, and I've given you areas that I want you to look at. I've told you in your text where to look at things. Keep in mind, we have two textbooks, so I didn't give you the exact text, but for example, on number 2, when I ask you to define the advantages of play tutoring, I'm asking you to look at your play pathway to playbook. So this one here, this is the one I'm asking you to look at. And then there's other ones such as when we get down to talking about hospitals, and we get into culture and outdoor and indoor play. I'm asking you to look at the other one, which let me grab it. So then I'm asking you to look at this one. So make sure that you have both textbooks and you have taken notes on all of them, because towards the end of the semester, our primary source of lecturing was done with guest speakers, and the focus was intended for you to get additional resources out there. However, on the exam, you will need to know what was assigned for the readings. So it's all on the syllabus, what you were supposed to be reading each week, and everything that's going to be on the final exam is from exam 2 until the end of the semester. So it's, again, just a third chunk of what we're learning. Some key things that you want to make sure that you're paying attention to: playful learning on number 4, making sure that you understand what playful learning is, being able to describe that and give examples of what that looks like, understanding the different types of teacher talk, so self-talk, parallel talk, language expansion versus language extension. They sound very similar, but they are different. So remember, language expansion is adding more complex language onto what a child is already saying. And then language extension is adding more information and complex words to a child's language. So I'm adding additional information that the child may or may not know. So for example, a child may say truck beep beep, and if I'm doing a language expansion, I might say, yes, the truck says beep beep. So I'm expanding on their utterance and potentially correcting if they have pronounced something wrong or need additional words put into their sentence. And with a language extension, when I add more information into that, the same child could say truck beep beep, and I might say, yes, you have a small blue truck and it has big wheels and it says beep beep as it moves along the bumpy road. So I've added a lot more detail into that. And of course, you're wanting to make sure to pay attention to the different teacher roles that we talked about. And that was in your Play to Pathway book, and it gave examples of what that looks like. So play leader, somebody who's joining in the play but has specific goals in mind, and they're directing what we might say and do. So they might give a directive statement: I want you to go and grab the spoon and start mixing and stirring. Or maybe I have a co-player and I might ask a question: what are you making, my friend? I'm hungry. Can I have some food too? I'm going to sit here at the table. And there's the stage manager, parallel player, so I'm sitting next to the child. So knowing all of those different types and thinking about, I'm kind of bouncing around, so I'll name the questions. And on number 2, remember that's from the Play to Pathway book. So we're looking at advantages of play, and we're thinking about, I'm sorry, that one is, yes, that one is from the, oops, it's not showing, I apologize, from this one, from your Play and Child Development for number 2 on chapter 14. So we're looking at advantages of play tutoring specifically. And so there's the definition in your text of that. And so what type of advantages come from play tutoring? And they talked about what that looked like, how it's kind of the informal role of the adult as a facilitator, supporting and encouraging through questions and suggestions, and how there's positive connections with adults and their verbal interactions, and how it helps to enhance imaginative play for children. Okay, I'll go in sequential order now. Sorry, I was bouncing around, but I just focused for the first ones. I gave you a little bit of detail on number 2, 3, and 4. And again, like I said, playful learning is going to be a key word that you're going to want to hold on to and make sure that you know how to give examples of that, potentially for a short answer question. And then number 5, that was in our lecture when we talked about the role of the adult. So again, these ones at the top are from that lecture, the role of the adult, and also the readings for that week. So we're thinking about, how much education does a teacher need? How much experience do they need? Do they need moderate or low experience? Do they need low or high education? So are we requiring bachelor's? Is specialized training important? And then we're also thinking, same with 6, looking at education experience and more facilitation of play, which was in your text and gave lots of details about what you might say, how you might engage, things like that. And then moving on to 7, 8, 9, we're talking about indoor and outdoor environments. And so that was the next lecture. And we talked about different qualities of designing an indoor space. We specifically talked about loose parts materials, creating boundaries, creating aesthetically pleasing environments that are going to benefit children's emotional regulation. So if we have children in the classroom who are distressed, what kind of spaces do they need? If we have children in the classroom who are displaying aggression, what is contributing to these aggressive behaviors and how do we modify or adapt our environment? What could we change in the environment to support them better? And also, we're thinking about how the play environment can support constructive play for children and looking at again those loose parts materials. So, what are children utilizing those materials for? How much time do children need to spend engaging in free play indoors and outdoors? And we're also thinking about the different eras that we talked about regarding outdoor play spaces and thinking about the structures and the materials that contribute to those eras of outdoor play. We also talked about the amount of time that children need to spend playing, and then you also want to make sure that you understand the different types of playgrounds from your text, and also the benefits of work-based programs. And then in chapter 8, we kind of moved on to the areas that you were learning a little bit more on your own. So keep in mind, we didn't have lecture discussions on the end parts of these areas, and this was primarily to do on your own time. So keep in mind, it's all going to be pulled from the text. If you have a clear understanding of the textbook and you can answer all these questions in detail, you'll be okay for the exam. Excuse me, specifically focusing on the different types of play approaches. And we're also seeing how these different play approaches are used by teachers. So they talked about trust and play approach, facilitate play approach, learn and teach through play approach. And so, which kind of play approaches are used with the different curriculum models? So, you want to know how those connect. So, for high scope and Montessori, Reggio Emilia, how do those different play approaches look within those curriculum models used by teachers? And then also, number 13, list the barriers to including play in classrooms. So that's a big one that you're going to want to focus on and make sure that you could describe in a short answer type of way. Same with 16 and 17. So focusing on the benefits of play for hospitalized children and materials used by child life specialists and their importance to play. So this is also a great opportunity for you to use the child life specialist, excuse me, the child life specialist and other guest speaker lectures. You're more than welcome to pull information from those, especially if it's in a short answer question. Great way for you to utilize both your text and the lectures that you watched. And so understanding how certain materials are used in different types of play settings and how they support children's play. And then we're also looking at relationship between hospitalized and children's development hospitalization, excuse me, hospitalization and children's development, specific programs, the role of a child life specialist. So, what does it mean to be a child life specialist? And our wonderful guest speaker gave great information. So, please utilize both of those to support your understanding. And then, of course, on chapter 12, we also see more information related to the different types of play therapists and their work. So make sure that you have an understanding of why their work was important, what they did, what kinds of strategies they use, the tactics that they use, their principles, specifically thinking about the different types of non-directive therapy principles for number 22. So again, it's all here in your textbook. Make sure you read it, absorb it, use it, write down points, write on your study guide, download it as a Word document and type points in there or freehand if that works for you. You're really pulling all the information out of your text. And my biggest tip to you would be, are you able to think about the information that you're learning from your text and use it in an applied way? So if I give you a scenario of a child or a teacher and I say, here's a description of the child's behavior, or here's how the teacher is utilizing materials, or here are some of the practices that someone is using. How does this apply to Virginia Axline's work? and her 8 principles, or Melanie Klein's work. How does this support their work, or what does this look like in an actualized setting? So, making sure you're able to apply all of the knowledge that we're learning in actual scenarios. And then, of course, for the short answer questions, please make sure you give enough description. One sentence is not going to cut it. I need a short a short paragraph, so a few sentences for you to be able to fully explain to me your thoughts. Another recommendation when you're going through your test, I know that it can be intimidating when you're watching the clock at the top, so that's also why I gave you some extra time, but I would highly recommend as you're test taking, if you are stuck on an answer, do not fixate on that answer for more than a minute. Move on to the next one so that you can at least have an answer down for every single question. I noticed a lot of folks were missing out on opportunities to get points for the short answer questions simply because they either ran out of time or they didn't fully flesh out their thoughts. So make sure you get an answer in for at least every question. And then if you're still unsure about an answer, go back and fix it later on. Now, I'm not saying that you um, have open book and open notes. However, this is an online class, so think smarter, work smarter, not harder, and utilize if you have any sort of notes that you want to take. So that's just my last final tip for you. I hope that this walkthrough was helpful. I know it wasn't extremely in depth, but I want to be clear that as long as you're following along the guidelines of the study guide, you should be good to go. And again, it's really all in absorbing the reading material, making sure that you're paying attention to the lectures, being able to apply the knowledge in actualized settings. And then, of course, please make sure that you turn everything in within the time frame that you're given. Unfortunately, there's not going to be any additional time allotted. Everything needs to be turned in by December 10th and then the final exam by December 16th. So that is a shorter window. However, finals week is only Monday through Friday. And I know that in the past, the midterm exams, I gave more time. However, due to this being the final exam at the end of the semester, it's only going to be open Monday through Friday. However, you are getting additional time once you start to take the exam. So just keep that in mind as you're working. You have an hour and 30 minutes, and the exam is only going to consist of 20 multiple choice questions, and then you will have 4 short answer questions. So use your time wisely, study, but also take time for self care. I know that the end of the semester can be extremely overwhelming and stressful. So if you do want to reach out at any time, please let me know. Unfortunately, office hours won't be open, but I'm happy to message anybody through email. And if anybody needs additional support, I'm here. And I hope you all had a wonderful semester. I'm so happy that we were able to work together. I wish that we could have been in person so I got to meet all of you, but I hope if you ever see me on campus, you'll come by and say hi, and I hope you all have a wonderful holiday. Bye, everyone.